Shruti Shruti Prananam Alim Kranalim Namayu Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. There has been some delay, a lot of delay rather, in our pathas due to some hiccups. So I'll try to upload videos, recording them when time permits. In the last patha, we looked at Yoga Darshana. One thing I would like to mention before looking at the Vedanta Darshana, which is the only remaining darshana in Astika Darshanas, that Yoga Sutras have Bhashya by Bhagavan Vyasa. So Vyasacharya has written Bhashya on Yoga Sutras, on which there is a Vivarna, and that Vivarna is attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. Therefore also you can see that Ashtanga Yoga as a means is acceptable to Advaita Vedanta at least. So with that background, we'll continue Vedanta now. Overview of Vedanta. So Vedanta, the Shabda itself tells you Vedanam Antaha Nishchayaha Vedanta. Meaning, Anta literally means the end portion. So Vedanta would mean the end portion of the Vedas. But what is this end portion? It is not that all the Upanishads are in the ending portion of the Veda or the particular Shaka of the Veda. Therefore, the ending really means the conclusive part, Tatparya Nishchaya Ityartha. Therefore, Nishchaya is the meaning for Anta, meaning the ascertained meaning of the entire Vedas. That is the Anta, meaning what is the conclusion drawn from the entire Vedas. That kind of a section is called as Vedanta, and that is the Upanishad portion. So Upanishads are there in the Samhita, Mantra Samhita Bhaga. For example, Isha Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad, Isha Upanishad. And then in Aranyaka also there are many Upanishads which are such as Taittiriya Aranyaka. You have Taittiriya Upanishad. Thereby, or Brihadaranyaka. Brihadaranyaka itself is called as an Aranyaka Upanishad. Brihad Aranyaka. A very vast and the biggest Upanishad there is. In any case, what is Vedanta is basically the Brahma Sutras, which are Nyaya Sutras, part of Prasthanatraya. Prasthanatraya means a triad. What is a triad? Triad for Prasthana, meaning in the Darshana also a triad, and also one who is giving up samsara, meaning giving up this bondage, the life of trying to become something else, which is otherwise called as transmigration for moksha. That person is leaving his household duties and leaving for moksha. Therefore also prasthana, meaning going away. That can also be another meaning. So that triad, prasthana traya, is Upanishad 1 as Shruti Prasthana, based on the Shruti, based on the Vedas, based on the Shabda Pramana, Moola Shabda Pramana. That is one Prasthana. Second Prasthana is Smriti Prasthana, which is Bhagavad Gita. And the third Prasthana is the Nyaya Prasthana, based on logic, which is Brahma Sutra. So Brahma Sutra is one that analyzes as to what is the ascertained meaning, Nishchaya, of the Vedas. Therefore, primarily Brahma Sutras are considered to be like the Supreme Court decision, verdict on what is the Tatparya Vishaya of the Upanishads, and thereby the dependent Smritis also, what is the Tatparya Vishaya, and then all the Pramanas which derive their Pramanyam, validity from the Upanishads or Vedas, all those are considered as Pramana. So all those have the ascertained tatparya in a single vishaya which is revealed by the Vedas, and in the Antabhaga, Nishchaya Bhaga, where this analysis is done, that is Vedanta. And the Brahma Sutras, on which there is a Bhashya. Bhashya is that which is a commentary on Sutras. Sutras are aphorisms which are very short phrases, and Bhashya is to explain what is the subject matter of a particular sutra, which is in a particular section, meaning a set of sutras in a particular section called Adhikarana. What is the subject matter, why this sutra has come up, what is the context in which has come up, who is the Purvapakshi, meaning one who is an opponent to this, what is being established, what is the phala. All these are explained in the Bhashya and Tika Ityadi. So Bhagavan Bhashyakara gets the name Bhashya because he has written Bhashya on these Brahma Sutras, and further by extension because Brahma Sutras are decisive in the subject matter of Shruti, specifically Vedanta Upanishad, on which Smriti and other Granthas, Itihasa Purana, also base their Tatparya Vishaya as in line with the Shruti. Therefore, Bhashyakara Shabda, although it is applicable technically only because he has written Bhashya on or created Bhashya on Brahma Sutra, still by extension he has written Bhashya on Gita, Bhagavad Gita, as well as Upanishads, 10 Upanishads primarily, and then the other 2 or 3 are considered as the source on which Bhagavan Bhashyakara has written Bhashya, Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya. So this Bhashya Sampradaya was there earlier also, maybe not on all Prasthanatraya, but there have been earlier Vedantins who have written Bhashya on Upanishads, and their interpretation is not completely correct as to what is the Tatparya Vishaya. They are right, but how this moksha is to be attained, there logically there is some flaw. Therefore, although Vedantins existed prior to Adi Shankaracharya, they had compromised, meaning not all Vedantins, but some who are called as Ekadeshis, Vrittikaras, they had compromised on the logical conclusion as to how this moksha is attainable, what is the swarupa of moksha, and what is the swarupa of bondage, bandha. So bandha and moksha, the way they had explained, although moksha swarupa was right, bandha swarupa was incorrect, in the sense that to put it briefly, if bandha is real and moksha is real, then real bandha would never go away, and this real moksha would never be possible, nitya moksha. This is the flaw primarily. Therefore, Bhagavan Bhashyakara, when he refutes the others also in Advaita Bhashyas, he considers the view of the earlier Vedantis, Vrittikara Mata, Ekadeshi Mata, and also refutes them. This is an aside but related, what should be known, because the question would be, oh, is the Advaita Sampradaya only beginning with Adi Shankaracharya? It is not true. Advaita Sampradaya is beginning with Bhagavan Narayana, or if you can say Bhagavan Dakshinamurti Shiva, we say Sadashiva Sammarambham, or Narayana Sampradaya also. For us, there is no bheda between Narayana and Shiva, Dakshinamurti. For us, There is only one Paramatma who takes all the sorts of forms available as Ishtadevatas, also based on the Shraddha of the Bhakta. Nonetheless, so what is Advaita now? What is Dvaita? What is Vishishta Advaita? These are the three main divisions in Vedanta as they exist today. Adi Shankaracharya is the primary Acharya considered today, because the earlier Acharya's works are extinct, they are not available so exhaustively, but they are available from Adi Shankaracharya onwards. Of course, Gaudapadacharya's Karika is available on Mandukya Upanishad, which is across 4 chapters, who was Parama Guru of Adi Shankaracharya, the Grand Guru. So that is available, on which there is a Bhashya. On Mandukya Karika also Bhashya exists, Tika exists. Nonetheless, the elaborate Prasthanatraya commentaries are available only from Bhagavan Bhashyakara onwards. Therefore, Adi Shankaracharya is considered as currently the main Guru of Advaita Sampradaya, the one from whom we are able to see the Bhashya kind of a Sampradaya following, the tradition where Bhashya is written, Tikas exist on those, such things. Therefore, that in the division of Advaita, Vishishta Advaita and Dvaita, they consider Adi Shankaracharya as the primary Guru. Although in Sampradaya we do not agree that it is only Adi Shankaracharya, we say Adi Shankaracharya is in the middle of the Sampradaya. Sadashiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam. Shankaracharya is in the middle, but Paramatma is the main teacher, the first teacher. Nonetheless, the reason is because, as explained, the Bhashyas are available from Adi Shankaracharya onwards, therefore commentaries and sub-commentaries, therefore he is considered as the Guru in Advaita division of Vedanta, which is really the only Vedanta. Factually, there is only one Vedanta, which is Advaita Vedanta. Every other flavor we'll see when we see the elaborate, somewhat elaborate view of Darshanas in the second round that we do after we finish this Astika and Nastika overview, Darshana overview. Then we'll see as to why Advaita alone should be considered as Vedanta and none of the others, which are repackaging of the earlier Darshanas which have been refuted in the Bhashya. Because the primary Gurus of Dvaita Vedanta, Madhvacharya, and of Vishishta Advaita, Ramanujacharya, both the Acharyas have come up later in time, and their Darshana, people think that it cannot be refuted using Bhashya, but it isn't so. The ideas which were pre-existent have been repackaged in their Vedanta flavors, spread across various darshanas, and other than these darshanas, there is a Bhagavata Mata which has been refuted in the Brahma Sutras Avirodha Adhyaya in the second chapter, second pada specifically, and also Maheshwara Siddhanta, Shaiva. Not only Vaishnava, Bhagavata Mata, but Shaiva Maheshwara Mata has also been refuted by Sutrakara Bhagavan Vyasa in Brahma Sutras. Therefore, everything which is related to these sampradayas, new sampradayas, they have repackaged the earlier from Tarka, from Sankhya, from Yoga, from Agamas, Shaiva Agama, or from Pancharatra, whereby Vaishnava Darshanas have also repackaged them, they also stand refuted. However, using Navya Nyaya, they have written using new logic, meaning new logical systems which have been, after Tarka, Nyaya, Vaisheshika were refuted by Bhagavan Bhashyakara, they had reinvented Tarka using very complicated and accurate language. So the other Vedantins also have used those and tried to refute Advaita or made Akshepa, Shatadushani ityadi, showing hundreds of flaws in Advaita, and they have been answered in Shatabhushani, they have been answered as well using the same language, because the Aropa has been done using Navya Nyaya, the refutation is also in Navya Nyaya. So it is not that their darshanas are ones that show flaws in Advaita and therefore they should be held good, but their refutation is possible using granthas such as Bhashya and others, Prakarana granthas, which exist in the Advaita Sampradaya before these darshanas were created. Anyway, this is a broad overview, it has to be mentioned, otherwise the thinking is that, oh, Advaita Acharya is Shankaracharya alone, there was no Advaita before. But if you look at it, whenever any darshana takes Vedanta as a Purva Paksha, as an opponent to discuss and debate, they always take Advaita Vedanta alone as Vedanta. In fact, the adjective Visheshana Advaita is not there. Just when Vedanta is talked about, the Vedanta means Advaita Vedanta. There is no other Vedanta. As to why, we will see more. But then let's look at the differences, or what do each of these Vedantins say. Vedanta Vibhagas, divisions, say as to what is this moksha, what is bandha, what is the prapancha swarupa. There, in the case of Advaita, to land on Advaita, let's start with Dvaita. Bhakti Sampradaya, Madhvacharya Sampradaya, or Vishishta Advaita Sampradaya, that is also using Bhakti. A lot of Bhakti you see in ISKCON ityadi. Madhvacharya says that Jiva and Ishvara are bhinna, they are different. In the bondage also they are different, and in moksha also they are different. Jiva is completely separate from Paramatma, Ishvara. Who is that Ishvara? Narayana, manifests as Vishnu. However, they do not consider anybody else as Ishvara. So Narayana is Ishvara, Paramatma, we are bhaktas, jivas, who are always separate from Paramatma, but with seva adi and study of Vedas, with chitta shuddhi, all that we can attain mukti by anugraha, by grace. So Bhagavan's grace gives us mukti. And what is that mukti? So if you look at mukti, there are other muktis which are talked about in the Shastra, in Puranadi. So Bhagavata Purana, Padma Purana, all these Puranas talk about mukti. So muktis are what? Salokya mukti. Salokya mukti is in the same loka, Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha there is mukti. What is the mukti? The jiva reaches Vaikuntha, and that Vaikuntha presents itself with the separation from Bhagavan, but still being in the same loka as Bhagavan. That is a mukti possible. Salokya mukti. Sarupya mukti. There is a nyaya as to an insect which is not really a butterfly or something. When it starts being taken care of by a butterfly or something, some other insect, then it starts looking like that and it takes that rupa. So it is said that in dhyana, when you are meditating on a particular Ishtadevata or a Guru, then over a period of time, if you are meditating in that manner, then you attain the same form of the meditated object. In Yoga Shastra it is said merging into the object, but as a phala, you can see, in fact, there are many people who want to look like their idols. In modern world also you have many people who start dressing up like the others, start mimicking, and this mimicking is what it is meditative. You start thinking about the same person over and over and over and over again, you start looking like that. Not only forcibly trying to make up like that, try to dress up like that, but in the meditative process, when you start meditating on the deity, you start taking the gunas of the deity. So in that way also you can see this sarupya mukti is possible, that the person, the meditator or the sadhaka starts taking the form of the meditated Ishvara. So in the sarupya mukti, they say that the bhakta sadhaka with anugraha will get the form of the Lord. However, there will be some difference. There will be some difference whereby Narayana will be identified as separate. He'll maintain his difference, although this bhakta will start looking like that. After, in another, of course, in another janma, in the sense, not here in Prithvi Loka, but in Vaikuntha itself. So such rupa is possible, sarupya mukti. Then samipya mukti. Not only in the same loka, may not have the form of the Lord, but then has proximity of the Lord. So dasa bhava, one who wants to serve the Lord, wants to be very close to the Lord. Therefore, this mukti is also possible. And then there is sayujya mukti, where one becomes the bhakta or the meditator or the sadhaka, whatever be the sadhana, becomes one with the Lord. Sayujya mukti. This sayujya mukti is sometimes seen as advaita mukti itself. Especially if you take the earlier Vedantin, I mentioned Vrittikara, who has written Vritti on the Mula. So that Vrittikara on Brahma Sutra says that bandhana is real, bondage is real, and freedom is also real. What does that mean? That means there is bandhana is real, means there is real difference between Jiva and Paramatma. And if there is real difference between Jiva and Paramatma, then there would be expectancy of mukti, which should be real. That mukti is also real, they say. So the real bandha is converted into real mukti. So the difference between Jiva and Parameshwara is also there, and this difference goes away, meaning this Jiva will transform with meditation, with nididhyasana, into Paramatma. This is what the Vrittikara says, which is not agreeable, which is not logical as per Bhagavan Bhashyakara. However, such kind of a thing exists as Sayujya Mukti. Whether the merging is real or it is apparent merging, that is discussed in Advaita Shastra. So the Dvaita Mukti would be these kind of Muktis. There will be real Pravasa Ityadi. Prapancha will remain. It is an appearance of Paramatma, alright, it will remain, it will continue. But this Jiva who has attained Mukti is an individual Jiva among many such Jivas of all life forms, and this individual Jiva in this Manushya Janma will have been freed, reaching a particular Loka, Vaikuntha ityadi. Similar would be the case of others, Shaivas also. So it is not only Vaishnavas or Madhvas, Madhavas who are the followers of Madhvacharya who would be having this kind of a mukti which is wanting, but then Shaivas also who use a particular whatever is the sadhana to reach Kailasa, they would also be separate from Bhagavan. In the Dvaita Sampradaya, whether it is using this Vaishnava or the Shaiva Granthas, whatever is the sadhana, when they reach the mukti, that mukti is in a different loka, therefore the jiva has pravasa involved, there's a gati involved, one reaches there. So this is what the Dvaitins say. Vishishta Advaitins, followers of Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya says that the jiva is not separate from Paramatma in that sense, but he is not one also. So there is a ansha-anshi bhava. There is a part and whole relation. All jivas are separate from each other, like in the Dvaita Sampradaya. And of course the Prapancha is also separate. The Prapancha is separate from the jiva. So there is a Prapancha Jiva Bheda, Jiva Jiva Bheda and Jiva Ishvara Bheda in Dvaita Sampradaya also and in Vishishta Dvaita Sampradaya also. Prapancha is separate, Jiva is separate. Among Jivas there is Bheda, Prapancha and Jiva there is Bheda, and Jiva and Ishvara there is Bheda. In the Baddha Avastha also, in the Mukta Avastha also. But what is the difference then? The difference in the Vishishta Dvaita Sampradaya is that using bhakti, this bhakta, and using the Vedanta proper understanding, this bhakta sadhaka who is an ansha will know that he is a part of the entire Vishwarupa Paramatma, who is Ananta Gunavan. He has limitless gunas. All the gunas that you see, they are Bhagavan's gunas, and you are one part of that. So you are the part of the Sharira, the entire Sharira of Narayana. Or some places they would say Krishna alone, not anyone else, only Krishna. Krishna is Paripurna Avatara, only Krishna. Like ISKCONites would say. They are also followers of Ramanujacharya. So there are some flavors which have come out of them. I wouldn't go into details of them. I do not have that kind of a study either. So overview and such level differences are good enough for our purposes. Finally, Advaita Acharyas say, Shankaracharya says, and the earlier Acharyas also, who base their understanding only on the Shruti, they say that there is no real creation. This creation is not a parinama, this is an appearance of the same Paramatma as Jiva also, as Prapancha also. Therefore, there is no real difference between Paramatma and Jiva at all. But due to avidya, which is at the individual level, due to ajnana, I wouldn't want to translate this because there is a translation ignorance, but ignorance in English has a connotation of absence of knowledge. But avidya or ajnana is not absence of knowledge, it is a positive presence which opposes knowledge. Yat kinchit bhava rupam. We are not saying it is existent, but we are saying it is not non-existent also. So what is ajnana or avidya which causes this bondage? What is that bondage? That jiva appears to be different from Paramatma and considers himself or herself as separate. Jiva is Atma. Having taken a particular gender, janma in a particular gender, body which has a gender, and has varna ashrama ityadi, one considers oneself as different from Paramatma and different from other jivas also and different from the Prapancha also. So there is a difference which is there. All the three differences which have been mentioned earlier, they exist in Advaita also, but in Advaita Vedanta Sampradaya also. But these differences are apparent differences. There is no real difference. So the jiva is Paramatma as revealed by the Shruti in Tattvamasi Mahavakya and other such vakyas, Aham Brahmasmi ityadi. Mahavakyas are those vakyas which talk about the unity or non-difference, abheda between Jiva and Paramatma. So there are the Shrutis, and those Shrutis are the Tatparya Vishaya as per Advaita Acharya. So they say that in Advaita Vedanta, they say that Shruti reveals this non-difference between Jiva and Paramatma, and that itself is the goal. That itself is moksha. If one is able to understand that, then that knowledge takes away ajnana, which was so far opposing jnana, jnana utpatti, the rise of knowledge. And having taken away that ajnana at the individual level, which is also called as maya or mula prakriti at the universal level, that knowledge itself is freeing. But it should be a knowledge, it should be that knowledge which is sound knowledge. It should not be shaky, it should not be on shaky grounds. Therefore, the sadhana to that, towards this mukti, which is nitya, this moksha alone can be nitya. Why? We'll see when we see details, the second round. But Advaita moksha says that there is no limitation at all. The jiva being separate from Ishvara in mukti avastha, in Madhvacharya's Dvaita Sampradaya, will not free the jiva. Mukti will not be nitya. Sarupya, salokya, samipya muktis will not be nitya, will not be permanent. Why? Because the jiva will have limited ananda. Even being close to the Lord, being in the same loka as the Lord, being with the same form of the Lord, still being different from the Lord, will limit the jiva also and will limit the Paramatma also. That limitation is not desirable, it's anishta. It should be anishta for everyone. However, Advaitin alone sees this anishtatvam, meaning non-desirability, meaning it is not desirable to be limited. Ishvara being limited by any jiva or prapancha being separate from Ishvara, that limitation is logical conclusion. If you say there is separation of prapancha from Ishvara, separation of the universe from the Lord, whether the jiva is separate from jiva, let it limit jiva. But if the jiva is separate from Paramatma, whether he is really separate or a part of the whole, still that part will limit Ishvara. Similarly, prapancha being really separate from Ishvara or jiva being really separate from Ishvara will limit Ishvara also, which should be undesirable. And on the part of the Vedantin, it is undesirable from the perspective of the jiva also, because jiva who is serving the Lord may have immense ananda. Undoubtedly, we do not say that bhakti does not give ananda. Serving the Lord, why serving the Lord? You serve others also. You look at a child smiling when you give the child a sweet or something like that, which is a toy. The child's smile is that itself gives you ananda. So you are giving something, your resources are depleted, but still you are happier than you were before. Then what would be the happiness of the bhakta who is merging as a part of Ishvara or attaining the samipya of Ishvara to serve the Ishvara? He is in the same loka, with the same rupa, he can see the Lord all the time because he has the same sharira. The ananda is going to be immense, there is absolutely no doubt about it. However, such ananda is going to be limited. It is not going to be nitya, because there will be an end to it, because gati is involved. If a person has to travel to another loka after dropping the body, still that travel will limit, because the travel is itself a limitation. You are going from one place to another. Therefore, there will be desha paricheda, vastu paricheda and kala paricheda also. All three limitations of limitations in time, limitations in space and limitation in being a particular form, a thing, a vastu. All these limitations will accrue to all other kinds of mukti, of other darshanas and also of other flavors of Vedanta, except in Advaita Vedanta, where jiva is not at all different from Paramatma, who is one with Satchidananda Brahma, which is the Swarupa of jiva. Then alone there will be Nitya Mukti. Then alone the Ananda Swarupa, the very Ananda form, nature. Form is nature, not a shape or anything. The very nature of Jiva is Atma Swarupa, Brahmatma Swarupa, Paramatma Swarupa. This is the conclusion of the Advaita Acharyas as revealed by the Shruti. Finally, one thing has to be mentioned here before looking at the Nastika Darshanas and then the second round of all these Darshanas with refutation by comparison with Advaita, and where needed with some other Darshana also. What needs to be said is that what is the validity? What is this pramanyam, pramanatvam? What is valid, what is not valid? In that kind of analysis, we have to understand the way eyes can only see, they cannot hear. Ears can only hear, they cannot see. What we should understand is that there is only one pramana which will work towards one Vishaya, one subject matter, one object. So where is Shruti Pramana? Vedas, Vedantas are pramana, are valid means of knowledge, means to knowledge only in Atindriya Vishaya. Where other pramanas do not work, where our 5 pramanas work, there Shruti is not a pramana. Because you already have means of knowledge. Means of knowledge for form or color is the eyes. The eyes meaning the vision. The Indriya, Chakshurindriya, which helps you grasp the color and form, that is the only pramana. Similarly for Shabda, Karna, the Shrotrendriya, which resides in the Karnas, is pramana. Similarly for Twagindriya is pramana for touch, sparsha, ityadi. I am not going to these details because this is well known. Now, where is pramana of Shastra, Veda? Veda is pramana for Atindriya Vishaya, meaning where these sense organs do not have a reach, including the mind. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha, says the Shruti. So in such Vishayas, like Swarga, Paramatma, in this mantra, Yato vacho nivartante ityadi, Paramatma, Brahma, Parabrahma, which is the topic of Vedanta, Paramatma, Ishvara, Aikya, oneness with this Ishvara is revealed in the Shruti. Now, Swarga cannot be known, Indra cannot be known, all these devatas which are discussed in the Vedas, they cannot be known through any other pramana. Nor can the loka such as Swarga be known even with the NASA telescopes. Some planets can be seen, but you cannot know that there is something called as Swargaloka. Purvamimamsaka says Swargaloka is an experiential plane which is here itself. There is no other loka. There is no loka which is created. They say that there is on this loka itself you will have that anubhava at a subtle level, sukshma level. So Swargaloka, let there be another loka, gati is involved, movement is involved. After the drop of the body, a particular loka is reached by the jiva. This is widely accepted by all darshanikas, astika darshanikas. So now there Swarga cannot be known by any other pramana, therefore Vedas are the pramana. For Indradi devatas, Vedas are pramana, the only pramana. Similarly for Aikya between Jiva and Paramatma also, only Shastra is pramana, Vedas are the pramana. Now when you compare it with the Amsha-Amshi Bhava or difference between Jiva and Ishvara, you are limited and you are part of Ishvara, or you are limited and different from Ishvara, can there be Pramanyam of Shruti? If Shruti is valid, it is valid in those things, matters where you cannot know otherwise. If the Shruti is not there, you cannot know Paramatma. Okay, for Paramatma Vishaya, Shruti is Pramana. We agree. Now for difference between Jiva and Ishvara, that I, Jiva, who is experiential to me, I experience my presence, nobody needs to tell me. Nobody can tell me that you are unconscious when I am conscious. Nobody can tell me that you are non-existent, because I am existent. I know whether I am not body or not. Okay, I can understand with yogadi. I can understand that I am separate from the body using logic also. If the hand is gone, I exist. If my legs are gone, I exist. So if you remove parts of the body, I still exist. In the dream, without this body also I exist. Therefore, with that logic, I can understand that I am separate from the body. I don't need Shastra to tell me I am separate from the body. Although Shastra has methodologies which help us, but that I am different from Paramatma. If at all there is a creator of the world, if someone asks me, am I the creator of the world, I definitely know that I am not the creator of the world. So if there is a creator of the world called Paramatma, who is revealed by the Shruti as the creator of the world, and the Shruti says that you are different from Paramatma, for that Shruti is not a pramana. Why? Because I already know that I am different from Paramatma. Bhagavan Bhashyakara Adi Shankaracharya says this in Bhashya, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya, as to this Dvaita is not a Vishaya worthy of being taught, because Janmataha Jnatam Sarvesham Praninam, all pranis know that I am different from the other. From this world I am different from my mother and father, let alone the friends and others, but I am different from my mother and father, my siblings, and the world outside. And definitely if there is a creator of this world, I am not that creator, I am different from the creator. This is known to the Jiva already. All Jivas, not only Manushya, Pranis also know that. Birds know that, insects know that. That is why they search for food, they protect themselves from others, because they know the difference. So if the difference is taught by the Shruti in Tattvamasi Vakya, by Vyakarana Sandhi Vichcheda, Dvaitins would say Atatvamasi. It is not Tattvamasi, it is Atatvamasi. You are not that, you are not Paramatma. Tattvamasi means you are that Paramatma, but they say Atatvamasi, you are not that Paramatma. Hey, that I am not Paramatma, you need not be taught, I already know. So for that, Shruti is not a pramana. This is the basic refutation we have to understand. Pramanyam itself has gone for a toss. Further, what the Vedanta Vakyas say, there is the other Vedanta Sampradayas. They consider this Padma Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. as having a superior validity than Shruti, which is not agreeable to anyone, which should not be agreeable to anyone, because over Vedas, which are Apaurusheya, these Paurusheya Rishi created Granthas cannot have superior validity. Wherever there is contradiction or apparent contradiction between Smriti and Arsha Granthas to Shruti, then Shruti should be considered as superior, and all the other Granthas, Smriti Ityadi Granthas, should be reinterpreted based on the main Shruti. Therefore also the other Vedanta flavors stand refuted. This is the basic level which I wanted to mention, and before we move on to refutation, we will also have to look at, after looking at the overview of Nastika Darshanas, which will take another partha. Having done that, we will look at what are the pramanas available, and meaning which darshana considers what as a valid pramana, what kind of pratyaksha, anumana ityadi pramanas are there. So which all are considered as pramana by whichever darshanas. We'll have to look into this prior to the details. While looking at the details, we look at that aspect also, and then we look at refutation of comparison and refutation of the other darshanas using the source in Vicharasagara and or Brahma Sutras ityadi. So I'll mention those as needed when needed, but primarily without looking at the technical details or the sutras, we look at comparison and refutation in a later patha, we are yet to look at the Nastika Darshanas. So this covers the Astika Darshanas, and we'll stop here now, and we'll continue with the Nastika Darshanas in the next Patha. Shruti Smriti Purana Namaleng Purnarmaya. Om Tat Sat. धन्यवाद.